Okay, all right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Okay, so I'm just gonna give a quick intro. So I'm super happy you guys are all here. It's 4 o'clock, so we're just gonna go ahead and get started. Our time, it's actually 3 o'clock, Soma's time. But I wanted to just give everybody a heads up. This is our first webinar that we've actually done. So we're just gonna ask for a lot of grace as we go back and forth. We have tech support sitting next to me. My friend Christine is going to be here to help if we need anything. But a lot of amazing information that we really want to get out to our families and share a little bit of this amazing modality that can help so many. As a reminder, our conference is May 7th and 8th. You can visit our Facebook page, which is NAA National Autism Association, Pennsylvania, or you can visit NAC, nationalautismconference.org for more information on that if you want to do the web versus Facebook. Many of you know that Soma was our keynote speaker at our last conference. We haven't had one since because of the shutdown, but so that is how much my burning passion is to help kids who are nonverbal and adults get the message and the knowledge out there that there are modalities and ways to communicate with them and then to help them. So many of you know that I've been involved in this field for a long time, but many of you may not know that I was actually blessed to have my own son meet Soma. And that was actually the first peek at his ability where I learned that he was in there. And that was well over a decade ago. I think my son was like 8 or 9. And fast forward 10 years from that day, and my son started to attend the Talk Institute, where by the grace of God, Soma is actually, you're one of the board of directors, right, Soma?
Yeah, at the advisors here.
Yeah, the Talk Institute in school. So I'm so fortunate to have so much of this information in my world. And I'm so happy that you are sharing this with so many people, because truly you were the first person to show me that my son was in there and I could help him. So I'm going to go ahead and just read some of your bio real quick, and then we'll go ahead and let you get started. So for those of you who have questions, just, you can send them to us in the chat. And what I'll do just to keep things clean is I'm gonna ask Soma and then she can answer. So Soma is the executive director and creative RPM, Rapid Prompting Method, for educating autistic individuals. She lived in India until 2001, homeschooling her autistic son Tito, teaching him how to spell or type, write later on a computer, and handwrite independently since speech communication was not easy for him. The two of them were featured on the BBC documentary Tito's Story, and by then, at 11, he had already handwritten a book, Beyond the Silence, which was published at the National Autism Society in the UK. The Cure Autism Now Foundation invited Tito and Soma to the US after they watched the BBC documentary, and then the parent members of the organization asked her to try teaching the method on their own children. The success of her teaching, 7 non-speaking and 2 selectively speaking students with autism, earned her a fellowship to implement her technique with other students in LA. Her work was featured in the 60 Minutes program, and Soma's technique began to be called RPM. The popularity of it began to grow, and HALO offered Soma a full-time work environment. She continues to offer her services by offering camps, workshops, and trainings to teachers and parents. They are featured on that BBC documentary, Tito's Story, 60 Minutes, CNN, the HBO documentary, A Mother's Courage, the National Geographic magazine, Scientific American, People's Magazine, New York Times, and the Austin American Statesman. Soma has her business degree in chemistry honors and her master's in inorganic chemistry, and she is on the advisory board of the Talk School in Pennsylvania. How fortunate for my son. So Soma, will you please share with our families a little bit about what our kids can do with RPM?
Okay, when RPM began, it began very small. I had no clue that it's going to grow this big. And I only worked with Tito when I came to the United States. And I was supposed to go back to India when September 11th happened. And when September 11th happened, my trip back to India got postponed. And that's when Portia Iverson asked me to work with others. And I got the opportunity to work with other students. And then I realized that all the children, they are similar under the autism umbrella, but they are all different. And how are they different? So that is where the whole, my quest began, because I began to learn about autism through the students. And I'm still learning. It's not that I know everything, because every student is like another book for me. Like that, when you see one autistic student, you get something new from that student, right? Now, so RPM is a method in which you empower the student a means to express learning, reasoning, understanding, and thoughts. This is the communication part, right? Thoughts, by identifying the open learning channel at that instant of learning. Because this open learning channel is so different, and this makes one student so unique from another student. That's why you see two autistic students are not the same. Open learning channel at that instant of learning. Now, here's the thing. So when we say, okay, learning and reasoning, aren't they the same? No, they are not the same, because learning is, I can learn twinkle, twinkle, little star, but when I reason over here, so when I'm reasoning over there, then I start understanding and reasoning that this is a poem. It was written in tetrameter. Then the rhyming is AABB. So those are the different details, why it is a poem, why it is not a story. When was it written? It was written in 1806. Who wrote this? It was written by a woman, Jane Taylor. See, so those comes into the understanding part and the reasoning part. So I can learn 5 times 4 equals something. But the reasoning comes when I can apply it where I'm needed to apply it. See, so that is why learning and reasoning, they are different. Like that. So all these facts are out there now. And then, of course, the thoughts. So the thoughts come out from what the student is learning. So I taught the student, suppose, of course, I'm not going to teach such a simple thing. So suppose I told the student that the sky is blue. Then the thought would be over here, the communication objective would be, do you like blue? What kind of blue do you like? Because I would want to know about the student, whether the student likes blue or not. So do you think the next shirt that I'll buy for you would be blue in color? Do you like navy blue? Do you like all these 50 shades of blue? Which one do you like? See, so that way is thought. So everything that we teach, the communication comes out from there, because communication is a big, important, objective of RPM. Right, it's not just something happens, something more happens. See, if I teach like this, change is the law of universe, means ideas change, their aims and aspirations vary from generation to generation. So no one's order, no one system, all political, economical. By the time I said the second sentence, you're gone. So that is why in the methodology, what we do is we do a kind of a state ask sequence, so that we know that the student can be just I can lose that student right away over here, and then if I after telling one whole paragraph, then I say, so what did I say? So then it's not going to work. See, so then the student will guess or something, and the student will hesitate, saying that, listen, you told a whole lump of information. Can you repeat? Because sometimes students may hesitate. So that is why we try to create a kind of a state ask paradigm in order to keep the student in kind of a left brain state, because rhythmic is a left brain system, so that the student can perform for a longer period of time without getting auditorily bored. So that is where we like that is how the system of whole RPM goes on. And at the same time, see, by the way, in RPM we don't do any assessment. we immediately work, and through working, we do the assessment. That assessment, we don't waste the parents' time and the students' time in assessment over here. That, okay, I'm going to observe you, let me check it out, like that. We don't do that, right? So we directly work with the student, and through working, we figure it out, okay, where is the student's vision? See, that is where the open learning channel comes over here. So if we look at the open learning channels, we have the primary learning channels, that would be the vision and auditory. And the secondary learning channel would be tactile and kinesthetic. And if you look at vision, again, we can divide the vision into 3 parts. We have the generalized vision, like Temple Grandin vision. So people go to one of the Temple Grandin lecture and say, wow, Temple Grandin, she did accomplish this over here with her generalized vision. But then you come home and your child is not like Temple Grandin. Right. So like she has a generalized vision. Generalized vision is where you are supposed to look. I say, look at this, you can look at it, because your eyes have all these ciliary muscles, and these ciliary muscles are going to be able to make you see where you are supposed to see. So if the student's ciliary muscles are not working properly, which are voluntarily working, then the student may want to see, you may want the student to look at something, look, you can keep doing that, but the student may not be able to visually focus. See, because those ciliary muscles that we have over here, that is going to make you voluntarily move your eyeballs. So you see, certain students would be global visual. So if you think about, so global visual students, they spell, but they learn how to spell using muscle memory. So how far to reach A, how far to reach to, how to move our hands to reach letter E, letter Z, like that. So we teach muscle memory, because all the students may not be able to look at the letterboard and spell. So you see a very narrow group of children are going to actually voluntarily look and spell, right? So I know there was a recent research about visual eye contact and spelling, if you look at a major part of the student, they can't even look where they are spelling. So you have to teach them the motor skill of moving your hands, moving your elbows, and reaching the right letter. Now, then you have the you have the selective vision. So selective vision is where, out of all the different things, visual components in the environment, I'm going to select looking at my iPad. I'm going to select looking at whatever I'm carrying, book or whatever I'm carrying. And then, looking at the swing, or whatever is visually familiar and I'm visually comfortable with, I'm going to look. So you are going to see a set of students having selective vision. Now let's look at auditory. Now auditory is a very hidden channel. Now, how would I know that the student is generalized auditory? When a student is going to listen to the teacher spell, and then I'll know that the student is generalized auditory. The moment the student shows some kind of a facial expression or something, you'll know that a language interrupted the student. So some internal language, it can be an internal anxiety, it can be an internal fear, it can be an internal plan, it can be a memory, it can be so many things, because everything has a language in it. See, when I say, I'm getting tired, my head is talking to me that I'm getting tired, and that can interrupt the teacher's teaching. Right. So there would be these interrupting. It always happens. See, if you think about a long conversation that you are having with someone, and then you are on and off, you're getting distracted. Then you know that, then you suddenly go into the selective auditory mode, and then you come back. See, so this is how you know that the student is going from the generalized auditory into a selective auditory mode. Now, global auditory can happen with auditory boredom. So suppose the teacher's voice is one quack, 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 quack sound over there, and in a monotonous voice and all those things, we can have auditory fatigue. So auditory fatigue and other things. So here, an RPM provider would try and introduce mathematics or some kind of a thing which, in order to refresh the student, and then go back to the lesson that the teacher is doing. So these things are very natural, that the students are going to be back and forth, and that is where the teacher has to orchestrate the lesson so that the session goes on smoothly. Right, because sessions are going to either go smoothly or they are not going to go smoothly. So so if the sessions are not going smoothly, then the teacher is going to, then what's the point? You're wasting the students' time and you're wasting the parents' money. Right. So that is where we have to be very careful and know the auditory channel. Now, tactile. Now, generalized tactile students would be able to sit properly, sit anywhere. So they can sit and sit and sit and sit and work and work and work and work. But then 90% of the students won't be generalized tactile. They would be selectively tactile. They can sit in a car, but they won't be able to sit over here. So then for a student who is not generalized tactile, if we say, okay, he has to be so many hours in the classroom, then that would be a big tactile anxiety for the student. And then you would say, before going to school, his behavior was not like this, but after going to school, his behavior like that, because he was made to sit, he's not, so he's selectively tactile. So you have to adapt the session for the selectively tactile students. Right, because some children are going to sit and jump up, sit and jump up, then you'll know that they are selectively tactile. But in the car, it is not happening. Right, then you'll have global tactile students. Now, global tactile students are sort of, they're tactile explorers. They have to touch everything. So you see that they are touching, but they are not making any kind of selections that what they are touching. And many times global tactile students can even they can also navigate the environment by mouthing. Everything goes in the mouth. So now they are spelling great. But so without tactile recognition, they can pick any object up and mouth and or swallow, because cognitive reasoning, cognitive understanding that I'm not supposed to do is not equal to tactile recognition, that I'm supposed to touch that. Because here things are working very differently. Because in the first stage of our lives, the sensory motor thought stage, that is the first stage of our lives, in any generalized kind of development, you see first the senses grow. That is why sensory motor thought stage. By the time the student is 2 years of age, that is when you have this sensory motor thought stage. But here in autism, those senses are very haphazardly getting developed. So a student may have a global vision, generalized auditory, selective tactile, and then kinesthetic is a whole different story. Kinesthetic is this assembling of our senses in order to motor, move, and like react and do a kind of an appropriate movement. So if at all the senses are selective, you see there would be some kind of a movement disorder also in the students. So you see kinesthetic. So if you look at a generalized kinesthetic students, they'll be able to handwrite, they'll be able to type over here. But so you can say, okay, my child can type, my child can handwrite, but when I'm asking him a question, why can't he type the answer? If at all, there is not a marriage between the generalized auditory, that is language, and generalized kinesthetic, then the student is going to type his own thing. Because all the senses are sort of working in a kind of an isolated way. Right. So that is where, as an RPM teacher, what we'll do is we'll try to bring them together through spelling. So that through spelling, we are slowing the student down. And as we slow the student down, the student slowly starts merging his kinesthetic or auditory skills and verbalized in a right kind of way. See, so these are the things that, so generalized kinesthetic, then selective kinesthetic. I can do this, I can do that, but I can't do that. See, many times things are going around that, oh, it is autism is a motor problem. No. It's not a motor problem. Selective kinesthetic. So if at all it's a motor problem, like I have worked with many students who have, you can say, who have problems with cerebral palsy student. That is a problem. But here you can say the student can pick up the food and eat. There the motor problem is not happening. The student can hurt someone over there with the correct motor movements, open the bottle over there with the right motor movement, but selectively he can do some tasks, but he is not being able to generalize. So here we are going to categorize them as selectively kinesthetic. Because even you can say an output, a kinesthetic output of aggression is selective over here. See? So
much. Can I ask you a question while we're going? Because you said that you wanted us to ask you a few questions as we were going along. This one might tie into what you were just saying. So one of the moms said, my son used to do a lesson a day with me before things broke down in 2020. I know that's affected so many of us. How do I start again? Lockdowns and med changes were brutal. He still has an RPM teacher once a month. Do you have any suggestions?
So we have to reintroduce RPM, because if the time tolerance is, so you have to first see the time tolerance is say 20 minutes or 10 minutes. You stop the session at just maybe 15 minutes, just a little, so that stopping, it stops before a kind of, you can say, you can say information fatigue happens. Because you know, information fatigue can also affect, because think about it, everyone is talking about 2020, all these sickness and sorrows and all those. That is what everyone is talking about, concerns and all those things. So those languages are there, and at the same time, here we are having these informations. So if at all a student is, you can say the threshold of like listening threshold or information and performance threshold is that much, stop it just before it happens. Just say, now you're taking a break, so that memory, a new memory forms that I didn't have to fight, and then grow your time and performance from there. It happens with us also. I can read a book, so I can read 50 pages of a book one day, but then some days I'm barely going 10 pages. Right. Okay, any other question?
Yes, we had another one. That was great. So I know that we have found that, like, you have to go back and kind of start slow again. So the next question was, can you explain where lamp ends and RPM begins? My son is stuck at a point with lamp. Although his receptive skills are so strong, do a lot of your students come from other devices or software before finding RPM?
Students come from different places where it is. I don't even look at the history of the student. When the student is there, I just look at, now I need to do this. Okay, so I don't even want to know what the student does over there, or with any other provider, because the students may have multiple teachers, multiple provider, and multiple things. So in this now moment, I would start. So if the student is fixated on one particular thing, I would start my lesson over there by using the technique of diluting, which we usually do. How to dilute like the student's STEM or the student's OCD, like using a lesson. That way, right? So it is a kind of diluting technique. I think it is there in my gray book about harnessing STEMs and behaviors. So that book, it is there. So now we are looking at the kinesthetic map of the student, which is important because we need a kind of a kinesthetic output. So the student is receptive. Receptive doesn't matter at all to the world. It all matters about what the output is. Right. So that's where it is important that this kinesthetic is kind of a hub, because the teacher's performance and the student's performance, because teacher's performance would be this, it's like putting the money in the bank, and student's performance is like the interest. Right. So that is where the teacher has to like format the question, plan the lesson, so that even one sentence can have a lot of output. So the sky is okay, so spell blue, okay, that is the lesson goal. Okay, the students spell blue or whatever it is. But then the output is, what do you like about blue? When do you like to see the sky? What time? So those are a lot of output. And that would be the interest over here in RPM session. The teacher's input is you can say that is the principal, and interest is the student output. And that is where, as a teacher, my goal would be to get, it's not just teaching, okay, something. The cyclone is a system of wind with a low pressure center and a high pressure all around it. The wind in a cyclone is blowing anti-clockwise in the northern hemisphere, clockwise in the southern. And so, what did I say? Not like that. It is where cyclone, something that cycles. Now, what kind of other movements do you like? And so these kinds, can you think of what are the other cyclic things that happen around us, like seasons and all kinds of things. So that would be the student output, and that is what is important for me as a teacher. Right. So here, that is where we need to work on the kinesthetic skills. Now, if you look at it is, since we are talking about the generalized kinesthetic, okay, now selective kinesthetic and global kinesthetic students, there you see the kinesthetic movements would be very random. Okay, so it would be suddenly a movement like this, then a movement like this. Even the student doesn't know what he'll do. Right? And so we have to start creating a kind of a movement pathway, where sometimes the movement pathways are very random, and we have to create the movement pathway so that the student at least begins to navigate well on the letterboard. Okay, so the question would be, okay, he can swim well. Isn't that kinesthetic? Of course that is kinesthetic. That is selective kinesthetic. Right. So in a water environment, the student is generalized kinesthetic. But in the letterboard environment, there the student has to learn how to motor move and navigate the letterboard so that the student can touch the right letters and spell. Or if the student wants to handwrite, then create a muscle memory and handwrite. See, so this is where you see that you see that whatever is appropriate for the student, the teacher decides what the student will do. Will this student spell? Will this student speak? Because there are some students who just directly go to speech like that. So they can skip because they are already talking. And then you have to tweak a little bit and then move towards purposeful speech. Right. So here you see that the communication part that we have is either through the spelling or through handwriting or through speech, depending upon what that student is capable of. Because some students already talk. Why would you take that student back to spelling and just waste that student's time? You would want to work on the speech, right? So that's the part over here. Now, so if you look at learning, so we did the open learning channels. Now, if you think about learning, so it is a method to empower the student, a means to express learning, reasoning, understanding, and thought. So in RPM, we don't think about information learning as the only learning. See, you will see if you look at the graph, if you make a graph of your child can be information over here, maybe a 50 years old information. But vision may be working at a 2-year-old level. Auditory may be working over here, age appropriate or a little more. Kinesthetic may be working at, say, the 3.5-year-old level. And so when you assemble everything, you see he's spelling you can say in 2015 he was spelling, 2016 he was spelling also, 2017 he's spelling, and now he's getting bored of spelling. Now he's going to fight the letterboard because he's ready to move on. But these are the impediments or hurdles that are stopping him from moving beyond this. Because if we just keep the level over here of spelling or communication through spelling, C2S. See, so that is where we can move if we just we keep him over there. So we have to work on these also. And so in my brown book, where you have developing the sensory channels, there are some exercises over there. So if the parents are watching this, you can work on those exercises. They are just 5 minutes exercises over here to develop, because you just can't reach over there and the others are lagging behind. Then what happens is children are stuck to that particular thing over here, and then they are getting bored, but the senses are pulling him down. And then the student is going to say, what to do? I want to be around everyone but my system. Of course, they're going to say these languages. And then you see that it will sound pretty. Lots of people are going to put a like over there. Now, see, as a parent, now let me tell you as a parent what I do with Tito. See, I'm not using this the screen share, because that screen share was a disaster when I tried it. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll show you what are the other activities as a parent I can do with Tito. So creating a kind of a visual where Tito can read without. So where he can read without supervision. So first there would be 100% supervision, and then developing this, then I can say, hey, why don't you use, it's not just magical reading, I just scan the page and read. then only the person who is holding the letterboard will know what the content is. And then, or if you don't know the topic, then the student won't be able to answer. Not that magic kind of reading. It's real reading to grow a kind of to grow a kind of visual, you can say, option to do. Right. Then you can work on these kinesthetic skills. See, I'm just showing Tito because this is an open channel. I can't show other children. I won't have the permission. But you see, there would be wait. I'll show you more reading, handwriting, and all those different skills over here. So it's not that I have to stop working with Tito. This is a self-dictation. So where the letterboard won't be there and the student is going to self-dictate and start handwriting, dictating what, and we start the self-dictation over there. See, so different things that parents can work on their children, and then you have doing. It's not that making an artist out of him, but creating a hobby. So this I'll use it as a kinesthetic skill. So this would be adding a kinesthetic input over there so that the students would have lots of options. Otherwise, the student is going to wait the whole day for someone to bring the letterboard. What are they calling? A letterboard holders? No, they are calling them communication partners. Yeah. So you're waiting the whole day for a communication partner to bring the letterboard. Then you're going to tell something very profound. And the rest of the day, what are you going to do? So building hobbies is also important. And see, some of my little talk shows last year that we did during the COVID time, we talked about this, how to build the hobbies, how to add. So these are the other kinesthetic things we have to grow. Otherwise, information student will be there. Student is going to spell great. That's good. Remove the letterboard. Now what? Okay, we can go for a walk. Okay, the student already knows walking skills. But then when it is raining or when it is snowing, how will you go for a walk? Right. Then you can, so creating hobbies indoors, creating hobbies outdoors, so that there would be lots of kinesthetic options and the student is not bored. Otherwise, that letterboard, okay, there the letterboard comes again, there she brings the letterboard again. I have to say something very important over there. And at that moment, you may feel good. But as a parent, believe me, these other options, kinesthetic options using RPM that we do, those are the ones that are going to save other things over here and stop the student from just getting sensorily bored. Right. Is there any question?
Yes, perfect timing. I was just trying to unmute myself so I could come back in and ask you. So I do have a couple questions. This first one's actually really good, Soma, because this happened to me a lot. So one mom asked, my son spells well and communicates with RPM teachers, even does open-ended. But for me, he stims and doesn't do open-ended. That happened to me for years. My son loves all you RPM people, but he wouldn't talk to me. So do you have advice?
No, see, when you are starting it, start with a close-ended word. Tell me one thing about sky. Tell me one thing. So tell me one thing about sky. Of course, that is a close-ended thing. Don't go with the what are you feeling, because you know feelings are bigger than what the vocabulary can hold. See, many times sorrow is a feeling, but you know the extent of sorrow, you just can't hold it in one word, sorrow. See, usually this is what happens. You talk about sorrow or you talk about emotions, you get an emotional outburst over there because the vocabulary and it is very different. See, so that's why go with this close-ended and go with a non-personal thing. Or go with yes and no. Did you enjoy this? Then what did you like about it? Which is also sort of close-ended, and go from there. See, I have in my green book, I know many of you have my book, but my books are sort of boring. But what to do? Those are linear-ended books. So in my green book, I have those step-to-step communication goals, and then picture reading is also, there's a chapter on picture reading, which you can do like that. And as I said, that don't just limit it to the letterboards. Bring numbers also, because whenever a student gets emotional over there, switch to numbers, because in RPM we also do mathematics, how to teach math. Because you can't leave numbers out of the out of your communication. Numbers are everywhere, even when they are showing the numbers of COVID something, numbers of COVID something, or all those different things. There is numbers. When they talk about stock market, some of my students, they are buying and selling stocks, and they are getting good at it. See, because you work with a student and you see where they will be. See, that's why for students who are, these are just photocopies of the formula boards. Who are good with algebra, we have these formula boards. See, these are the area boards we have, where the student for teaching mathematics. So those who are good with trigonometry, these are the trigonometry boards. Very few people come for that, but math, those are good things over there too, because those are neutral whenever you are asking the student, and the student is getting something emotional over here. Right, because teaching math is also, and sometimes you see, I have in my black book how to teach the math concepts. So sometimes when you're teaching math is very, very visual. So I would not do a math when children are having a fit. I wouldn't do a math. Now what did I do with my pen? Okay, here. This is very visual. Okay, so then I wouldn't do this. The intensity of visual, you can say the intensity of visual requirement can throw the student over there. Then I would do some simple math over here, and then bring the student into a kind of a neutral kind of a place where you see, then the student is going to, even for, there was a question when the student is resenting doing RPM, after a while, bring it to math, and then you do it. So it's sort of a neutralizer. Just say, something was in sale, they are giving 2% discount. And so how much should I carry in my purse to buy that? That kind of an easy kind of a thing. Right. So, but like by math, I'm not meaning this, which requires more. Then the student is going to kick and fight again. This will take an hour for a student who is visually resenting over there, right? So we have to be a little realistic when we are doing this. So now, as I said, in RPM, we not only do the informational goals, because informational goal, you can do an instruction session, but we also do sensory goals, vision, auditory, those things, so that you assemble them, and then you see that the output, the kinesthetic output is best. Then you can teach anything to the student. See, as I said, when we are talking about obedience, he's not obeying. It's not that he doesn't want to obey. Obedience is a motor skill. It is a kind of a purposeful motor skill. So you say, sit down, I said, and it's not happening. It doesn't mean that the student is being disobedient. Right. So you can, so everything is a kind of, you can, as parents, you can segment everything. Okay, let me help you, because when we say it, then we spell better, and that's why it will be your advantage. We are going to spell. Sit for 2 minutes while you are listening to this song. So keeping an auditory engagement. Now you're going to sit for 2 minutes while I recite this poem to you. There you are bringing the teacher's voice over there. That way, right? See, RPM is a little different from other spelling and communication method because we integrate a lot of things. Now, talking about integration. Now, I know everyone, integration is my right, and all those different things, stickers are going around. People are putting them on the Facebook site and all those things. Now, first thing comes the integration of the self with the surrounding. The student, like, it is in this, in a swimming pool, great integration is happening. But then you take the student to a restaurant or a movie theater, integration is not happening. Then we say that the schools, come on, let's go, the school, we have to, he's smart. Everyone is smart. I've never met anyone who is not smart. But if this, see, smartness, see, information smartness, see, you have IQ, then you have EQ, emotional smartness, then you have social smartness, you have adversity smartness. Now, adversity smartness is a whole different story. When the senses are in a sort of an adverse situation, then the smartness, long ago, information smartness was, he's so smart. You collect a bunch of degrees over there, your information is smart. But adversity smartness, if that is not happening, then how will I integrate in a restaurant? Then how will I integrate over there? Okay, you are fighting for me, go ahead and fight. And then I'll become my own enemy by showing that I can't be integrated. Right? See, so when you are asking for things, you have to also see this kind of a sensory map of the student and work towards it. It's not that working is impossible. It is a slow process because we have these memories. Now, intellectual memory, children learn information very fast. Okay, intellectual memory is different. Sensory memory takes time. Because here, we have to introduce those little activities, sensory activities over there, like they are in my brown book, and then those who attended my sensory workshops earlier last year, they know about certain things. Okay, so sensory memory is a whole different story. Memory is another story. Procedural memory takes time. So you can say he's doing this for so long, but then procedure, he's not getting anywhere over there. Procedure memory, it is, everyone has a procedural memory clock. Right, so you work on the integration of the senses. I know they have sensory integration program in this. It is not that kind of a sensory integration program that we have in RPM. It's because we don't live on ball bath. We don't sit on, in real world, we are not sitting on a ball and bouncing. Because in a real world, we are not standing on a trampoline, and because then children would get so good at it. Then even without the trampoline, they are sort of lost. Then they would want to go back to it. But we walk on hard ground. Right, and so if we are not integrated over there, so that's why in RPM, our sensory integration program mimics more of the real world situation than a kind of a made-up situation where you have swing and ball bath and someone brushing. See, in real world, no one brushes us all the day. So maybe when someone is brushing, we feel calm. It's not to pacify the student. It is making the student integrate when people are not brushing you. Right. So that is where we have a kind of a program. And I discuss this usually in my training class. From tomorrow, we have a 4-day training class. And there we describe how to make lesson plans on information lesson plan, how to make sensory lesson plans, mathematics lesson plan to an older student who doesn't want to do numbers like that, how to teach mathematical concepts. So those kinds of things we do. Okay, so we also have a 4-day training. Now, any other questions? Okay, ask me.
Yep, a few more questions. So to play in with that, I'll go ahead and list a couple things. We had another parent said same kind of thing, that their child struggles with them, but they also, I had another mom say, my child does better on the letterboard, but not the keyboard. I would just assume that goes hand in hand with what you were saying. They're not ready yet. Keep it back to basics, correct?
Okay, so now not ready yet is a kind of a temporary word. So it's not today I'm not ready doesn't mean. So in RPM, we do kind of a shadowing where the so people would say, okay, why is the teacher holding that holding the stencil over there? I want no one to hold the stencil. That also happens. No one holds the stencils or no one children talk. That also happens. But we have to. There's a pathway. So you go from the known pathway and then you go to the next pathway and next pathway and next pathway like that. You have to go from the known pathway that way. So if you are not doing it from like, there has to be the student, this is the familiar visual pathway. This is the familiar kinesthetic pathway. The keyboard is a kind of a new tactile, kinesthetic, depth, visual pathway. It's a whole different thing. And so you see the procedural memory is sort of, but it's not that it's not going to happen.
Do you just asking, because we had a lot of questions about that. Do you have a program? I know like your green book has a lot of insight for families. Do you have any like steps on how to transition to a keyboard, or when is a good time to show parents like when they might want to consider it so they don't jump ahead too soon?
Now, when you see in RPM, the teacher holds the letterboard, when you see that the teacher is holding longer, not giving a visual break, and the teacher is able to hold because we give a visual break by removing the letterboard, because the moment the student, you see that the student is looking away, that means that the student needs a visual break. When you see that the student is holding longer, then the student learns to hold the letterboard, or the student, depending upon different students, or the student uses the letterboard flat on the table. Right. And then we have a kind of a plan for that student. We create a kind of a plan for that student where he's going to hold the letters. Then you see then the student gets performance fatigue with that kind of a position. Then we bring it back to the students' familiar visual reference and familiar kinesthetic reference. So these are the different things you have to look at. There would be a little give and take. And then you see, it's not just one fine day, okay, from today you are going to do this. That way, right? So I'll show you, it happens, but it's like Rome was not built in a day. And so here we are also assembling we are assembling the senses as well as the kinesthetic channels. So I'll try and share something with Tito, just a little bit typing. And you see, it's now like so much of supervision and prompting is not needed. But again, Tito has a little more practice, and that's why it is done. So the speed grows, because the speed of the typing and other things also grows, and self-dictation works great. That's why if at all your student can say, let the student point and after say the letters, because that is going to lead to self-dictation. That way, and it's going to wait. Let me try and share the screen if I can. Wait. Now, 1 minute. Okay. Just let me know whether you.
So right now you're on the whiteboard.
See, this is the thing. Okay, never mind. Never mind. Let me not share. Stop sharing, because I don't know what to do with this whiteboard thing. But I can show it on my phone a little bit, but then phone, it's not picking, the image is not picking up so well, and who knows where I get my phone. Never mind. So this is the thing, the movements, or there, it gets better through the self dictation and other things, right? Now if you look at RPM and speech, now this lad is ready for speech. If you want, you can write, but if you don't want, you can write. If you don't want, you can write. F L O W I N G, fluid, solitary fluid, the next word you read. F L O W I N G, fluid, next word you read. Fluid. G. See, so when you are writing, then you start copying and writing, and then some are going to copy and write. Some students are going to write that way, because when you know how to see, pointing or typing is this movement, but writing is an upgrade of your motor skills, right? Anyone who can write can type. A person who can type doesn't mean he'll be able to write, because that is just a poking movement, right? So you see that I'll show something where, okay, now see, then he can you can self dictate yourself, and then you can write like that, right? See, so he's going to self-dictate the word, and he's going to point it, to type it, right? And then the speed grows. And then instead of pointing 10 words in, say, so many seconds, you can type more words. So we have a kind of a speed, speeding it up through dictations and all those different things. So we use it. It's not just instructional sessions. We also do skill sessions where we divide the sessions into different skills. Okay, now we are going to do speed spelling. Now we are going to do this. So this kind of, we segment an RPM session based on what the student or what the parent wants. Some parents say that, okay, we know how to teach, but we want to upgrade his skills. Then I create a kind of a skill goal, and not just me, other RPM providers, they do it, and then they work on the skills, right? So that's how we create goals over there, because otherwise just information, and then the student is spelling great. Everyone has lots of thoughts to say. Everyone, it's nothing new. I'm doing this since 2001, and I'm seeing that all children spell great, profound thoughts. Very idealistic, very profound thoughts. I want to do this. I want to save this world. I want people to believe. I want this. They say all these different things. But then, if you look at the management and the things over there, so then you don't see. So like here you can see, this is with the speech. H, then A, then M, then G, and then. So here we are going from spelling to just spelling on the letterboard to speech, where he's going to spelling to speech, S to S. See, so there they are going from spelling to speech. Then after that we can have sometimes student can they talk with each other, which is sort of familiar. We have it on our website, and we teach the students some games also. So it's not the board game where students are going to spell. We have a plan to teach board game where the student is actually manipulating the keys. It's not that student is going to say, now you pick the king up and all those things. Then it becomes the same spelling skill. But in a board game, so that the student can actually pick up the whatever they have to pick, the pawn or whatever they have to pick, and then place it, which is a whole different kinesthetic skill, rather than just pointing, I want to point, okay, then it just becomes a little boring or tedious. Right. So then we also have RPM and self-help skills. I have a booklet where self-help, because a student grows up, he's spelling great, but then he needs help with his spell. Now, self-help skill, see, this pointing is outward pointing. Now, self-help skill is sort of an inward pointing, because here, this is a new motor skill where your hands have to work towards you. And for selective kinesthetic students, you see the self-help skill that is working outwardly, then we have to, like when you are creating a self-help skill, like program using RPM, there's a whole different thing. We have to work on this part. Then we are going to work when this part is like a letterboard. Okay, when this part, let's see, body is also like a 3-dimensional letterboard, right? So, but then depending upon the different positions, so we'll work on this position. Then after that, we are going to work on the arms. Then we are going to work on this, because there has to be some kind of a thing. Otherwise, what would happen is children would, they may not feel comfortable being helped for their basic needs. Now, he may be very smart. Information smartness has nothing to do with this. See, so when you are looking at RPM and how RPM grew, because see, as a parent, I saw that just spelling and communication wasn't enough for my son. Because I would want to spend so much time assisting him for every little thing. Right. I would want him to grow a hobby. I would want him to do this, do that in his spare time, because I would want some time for myself too. So when you are assembling all these things, so this is like RPM in a nutshell. Yeah, otherwise, where letterboard is an important part, because you have to grow this is a 2-dimensional surface. So spelling and communication is just navigating a letterboard on a 2-dimensional surface. But this is not the ceiling. In RPM, we don't keep any kind of you can say, skill ceiling. Okay, he's going there. Okay, now from here, how will he go? How will his like navigating environment grow? Then how will his navigating environment grow from there to there? Visual environment grow, visual stamina grow. Because one day, I'm telling you, one day the student is going to grow older. All the schools, children may go to college, everything, that's fine. But one day they are going to stop, and life will be quieter. And then more you create these kinds of skills around the student, it would be better for the student, and it would be less frustrating. While you parents, you have your stamina, you work on these skills also using RPM.
Soma, somebody just asked if you could show a demonstration of how to actually use the letterboard, like how you would present it. Do you have any videos on that? On how you would use the letterboard?
That's the thing. I'm so incapable of showing this.
Your videos, by the way, people are commenting too. They're sending us private messages. We can see the videos perfectly from your phone.
You can
Thank you.
So look at it. Okay, now let me show you a video. Okay, so different students would have different kind of things over here. Now let me show you this. Good, continues. You there? So this is where he's learning how to hold it himself. Right. So this is where he's learning to hold. Because it's not that I'm going to be there all the time. Children have to learn how to hold it themselves. So once, like otherwise I'll be the letterboard holder or whatever communication partner all the time like that. I don't want to do that. So, but then he has ready. Now sometimes children are going to do this. So now, this is the President James Bond. So he was the president. See how actually he looks? Okay, see? So President James E. Now look at his eyes. See? Look at the global vision. In President Bok's time, California became part of United States. See, California was part of Mexico. And then they found gold. What do you think was going on? You go inside the mind of President Bok and tell me what you think was going on inside his mind. H, he, M, U, S. Look at his eyes. D. He must. H. That's called global vision. U. S. T. Must. Okay. Raise your hand. B. E. B. F. E. E. L. I. N. G. Feelings. S. U. C. C. E. Monitor. E and S for pencils. S's. F. U. And he must be feeling successful. He must be feeling. So there I taught, and that is the communication where I asked, what do you think he must be feeling? So during President Bok's time, California found gold. So what do you think he must be feeling? So he has to go inside President Bok's mind and tell me. So that is the communication part, because communication is a big part of RPM. Like that, it's not that communication, tell me how horrible you feel when you have autism. Usually people ask children like that, how does it feel? Do we ask a blind person, how does it feel to be blind? But then when it comes to an autistic person, then tell me, how does it feel? Yeah, you feel horrible, right? No one understands you, right? Like that, and then we get very excited. So here in RPM, we do a different kind of communication based on what we are learning. Okay, now, so I'll show you different children have different habits of communication. So wait. Sleep is a good topic to talk about. Early in the morning, we'll talk about sleep. S-L-E-E-P, sleep. Now, did you know? Now, this is a did you know fact. That since 1960, today people are sleeping 2 hours less from 90, average person. So what are they doing? They are S, L. See, so now for him, I have to hold the letterboard at a little angle, because that is his performance field. Right. So depending upon different students' performance fields, I have to hold the letterboard at different parts. Okay, now. Then you see for a beginner, look at that. That's a beginner. 1, yes. 2 plus 1, 3. 2 minus 1 is 1. See, he's ready to go. Suppose I do 3 plus 1 and 3 minus 1. We're counting forward and backward. You sit like this, you do forward. See, I'm creating a kind of a 3 plus 1 and 3 minus 1. Raise your hand. Raise your hand. 3 plus 1, 1 number forward. This one. With pointer. See, I'm just teaching him the motor skill to point. See, so here, this is for a beginner who is really struggling with his body posture and all those things. There, we are just learning to navigate a kind of a board with which is with a thing over here. See, so you have to have these the beginner status. Then you will have a person who is spelling a little more and a little more. So then with some students, you see they are. So suppose now you can say, what kind of RPM session do you do with Tito? Okay, now with Tito, he was totally mute. With RPM, with timing and breathing and certain things we do over here, rhythmic breathing and all those things, we start getting a kind of a purposeful vocal sounds out, which I do with very few people. So now you might wonder, so what am I going to do with Tito? Okay, now here. Is it possible to slow light down? So what's the question? Which is it possible for light to slow down? Spell it D-O-W. See, so you can say that you grow. It's not just if I say, oh wow, Tito is spelling so well, he's going to write a book. Okay, he wrote a book. That's not my goal. My goal is so that he looks forward to the next. What's the next thing that I'm supposed to do? What's the next thing? Because learning by itself is a journey, is an adventure. So I, as a teacher or a parent of Tito or anyone who brings his over here, I have to show that student that learning itself is a journey. You are spelling over here, that is just the beginning. Navigating the letterboard is just the beginning. We have to go beyond that. Right? See? So then you see, so here we are still doing an instructional session, but now we are doing with the speech. So that spelling, it goes from spelling to speech, S to S. See? So easy as that. Now, but we have to, in order to get there, we have to also work on our sort of because if you are suddenly going over there, but you are not working on your sensory channels, it's not going to work. You have to assemble everything together, because all these senses, like as I said, vision is working at the 2-year-old level, tactile is working at 5-year-old level, kinesthetic is working at 4-year-old level, but intellectually I'm at 50-year-old level. Then there would be this tug of war over here, and the student is going to be very stressed with the letterboard. So that is where you have to work on the senses in order to go to that speech kind of a thing. Right? See, like, the speech part of our brain, see, so our language part, the Broca and the Wernicke area, they are on the left side of the speech part is this side of the brain. So the tips of the fingers, they are very close to the speech area of the brain. And so if at all our fingertips are properly exercised, you don't have to exercise them with those things and putty and all kinds of things. It has to be some kind of a purposeful exercise, like coloring and all those different things. So you have meaningful exercise that has some goal oriented, and you have just a fun part over there which doesn't have goal oriented, just enjoy it. Not that. There has to be some kind of a curriculum with the fingers also. And then you see that the speech, it is automatically, you don't have to work so hard. Right. So here in RPM, we are assembling everything. That's actually the main principle of RPM. Okay, so then let's look at some students are going to animals in zoos and circuses. So do you know what happens to it? Self-dictation and writing. Then N, then I, then See, so this is where you have the beginning self-dictation and going to a higher kinesthetic stage from pointing and poking to writing and forming the words over here. Now, if you look at some places over here, like, so there would be lots of visual and other kinds of things, but let me show you. Like working through, so then, okay, now, see, now, what I'm doing is, you have to work through OCDs. See, so here, an OCD will, so a student is spelling, suddenly an OCD comes in. So there would be kinesthetic hurdles. So kinesthetic hurdles in RPM would come through excitatory stim, stim is good. It sort of helps learning, but excitatory stim, where the student is putting a lot of emotional input, because emotion has its own language. Yeah, I'm doing this, but now I'm doing this and I'm putting a lot of emotion because I'm enjoying it, and my head is telling, oh, you're enjoying it, keep doing it. So that is excitatory stim. It will come from impulse. Like, everything is happening, everything is, suddenly something happened out of nowhere, impulse. Then it will come through OCD. So OCD can manifest as an action. OCD can manifest as a kind of a verbal request. OCD can manifest in any way. And so as a teacher, you have to navigate the student through the lesson despite those other distractions over there. And so we have to have a kind of a purposeful goal, purposeful movement, motor activity, purposeful speech, if the speech is there, right? Purposeful vision, all those different things. We are navigating the student over here, and we use 3 methods in which we delay, dilute, and scramble. So all those 3 methods, the lesson plans around those 3 methods are there in my gray book. Harnessing the behavior and stims and behavior using RPM. How to navigate the student out of it. Because those things are going to happen. We are working with autistic children. Right. And so we have to understand that those would be some kind of factors that are going to interfere in the lessons.
I have a few more questions for you, Soma. Can I throw a few out there?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So we've got a lot coming in, so I want to make sure I get them to you. So this one says, the student is verbal, reading and writing. When do you know if they are ready for writing or typing instead of utilizing the letterboard?
So when you see that the purposeful writing is coming, okay, then you know that the student is ready to move beyond the letterboard and ready for self-dictation. So as you might want to take the help of one of those RPM providers or me and other things, and then we can they can, or me, I can see from there where, because it has to come from, so the student, we have to assemble now the purposeful writing. But a student can write, a student can say, but then purposefully answering the question is very different.
Okay, here is another one. So this one says, I am new to RPM. My son can type at the speed of 18 words per minute on a computer and is verbal too, but he's behind in functional communication. Is the letterboard still required when we start RPM? We have a lot of parents ask us that. If they know how to type, they use the letterboard?
No. Some children, they just jump to speech. Very few. I usually don't tell that, because then people would say, okay, well, the student is not ready. But then if at all the student goes, we can directly jump to speech. Many children jump to speech right away. but you have to kind of create a kind of a seesaw with that. See what the student likes and hook on a particular thing over there, and then dilute it into a lesson. And then you have to do some kind of a micro lessons over there, and using those micro lessons. That kind of a student who has so many capabilities would need micro lessons in a session, and the topics of the micro lessons would be very, very crucial to get the students' interest.
So is that the type of child, I think within another question kind of reference to the same thing, is that the type of child, instead of starting on a letterboard, if they could type that much, would they start on a typewriter?
Or they can speak.
Okay.
The thing is that speech, then they can self-dictate it themselves. I had like 2 days ago, even yesterday I came back from, I had a student who directly went, did not even go to spelling. He was so capable. Like that. See, you have some children go through the Williams syndrome and others who are so capable, which also comes under autism. So then he didn't even need to spell, or he didn't even need the letterboard. He directly went and answered very appropriate things.
That's so good to know. Okay, I've got a couple more. Okay, my son has never met you. We have done RPM for 2 years. We hope to take him to Texas sometime soon. Can you tell me if a Zoom meeting would be a valuable thing, an option, a viable option, or wait to take him to you?
I do Zoom sessions. I do Zoom camps also. So many of my students say, like some students who can't travel, they do Zoom camps, and some people, and then sometimes they do only speech camps. Some students do speech, some students do this camp, depending upon what the student, where the student is at.
Okay, and that might play into our next one, because I'm assuming that's going to be your answer, is to schedule a Zoom, because the next question is, my son communicates using the letterboard and has been since 2017. He did it during his 4-day camp, but he's having a hard time in the independent typing. Is that something they should Zoom with you to get your guidance?
Yeah, we can do that. We can go through the process. The next step to do is, children see, they're stuck to the letterboard. Then children create a love-hate relationship with the letterboard, because looking at the letterboard, I'll be bored. Like if I have to look at that letterboard the whole day, I'll be so bored. Like that. So that's where you have to bring in something else. This is okay, let's go to the next part. This is achieved, let's go to the next part, like that.
Okay, yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. All right, so this one says, I work with a 19-year-old and would like to implement the letterboard for sounds. Do you have any thoughts on that?
You can implement, you can start with slowly. So you can start with maybe with a folded letterboard, like that. So with like you can say, okay, we are going to talk about Alexander. Let's begin. Alexander is a lot of spelling. So by the time ALEX, so you can say, let's begin with the first 2 letters, and then grow the stamina as the session continues, and see how far the stamina goes. Because see, spelling is good, but then you have to create a spelling stamina also. And then sometimes there would be performance fatigue that would come in the way. And so those are the little details that if you see, now if there's a performance fatigue and if you keep going, you're supposed to say more, keep going. Like that, if you do that, then of course the student is going to resent. So for a beginner, you have to start with maybe a folded letterboard, just with the visual field of 5, because visual field of 5, and then you can grow it from there. Visual field of 10, and that's how.
Okay, and that when somebody else also asked on that note, do you have any suggestions for a nonverbal autistic teenager to learn the sounds? They would kind of want to do the same thing. They would want to utilize the letterboard and go through and teach the sounds with the letterboard, correct?
Yeah, see, you teach the spelling through phonics, okay, and then But then if you want the student, because all the spelling, see, for example, my last name, it's pretty unique, right? So you're going to say, how do you spell Mukhopadhyay? M for M sound. Now, Ukhopadhyay, U for Ukhopadhyay, K for Khopadhyay, and then you can keep going like that. Like that. See, so you use your phonics and then find the letters over there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, perfect. So the next one, I would like to start with my son who is 18 and nonverbal. He has severe autism. He's really struggling with many things. He also started having seizures. I'd like to begin this with my son. Please let me know how you would start.
Well, to begin with, you have in my red book, start just with 5 sentences. Okay, because you don't want, say like, if someone is hungry, did not eat for 7 days, you don't give the 7 days meal at one go, right? You have to start slow like that. So start with 5 sentences and see how it goes. So that is where we offer choices. So even choosing, so we'll talk about, let's talk about the weather is so beautiful now, right? So what am I talking about? Am I talking about weather or am I talking about a chair? And see how he responds. Now, then you may teach, if he chose chair, you may teach the motor skill to respond. So he may mean weather, but the hands are just going like that. See? So, and then you can do the training, or you can take the help of any of the practitioners, whoever stay closer to your area. See, in Unlocking Voices, you have the list of practitioners in your area, and all of them are equally capable. Like that. So you can take, and then you can take their suggestion, and then you can see how it goes.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Okay, this is a really good question too. And people are asking at the end, we will definitely provide like resources, websites, upcoming events and whatnot. But this is a good question, Soma. Someone said, I'm here to learn about RPM, and we have a kid with a very limited functional speech and strong echolalia. What would be your approach? She can spell, write, and type, but they're echolalic. So I guess they're trying to channel it in to be useful language.
Yeah, like see, hyper imitation or echolalia, it happens when impulse comes before the reasoning. See, when I reason, so there again, what we have to do is, instead of giving verbal choices, so you can say, Alexander was a king. Ka sound. Don't say, was he a king or was he a queen? If there's a echolalia, it would be king or queen, or it would be just the last one. So you're going to say, let's find ka sound. So you minimize this or that. You just begin with echolalic children, ka sound, it sound, and then you see that a habit grows, and then slowly the echoing sort of becomes less and less prominent.
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much. So here's another one. Because you showed a clip of Tito when he was actually sitting by himself and reading independently. Yes. So a lot of our kids love to read, or love us to read to them. Yes. How do you get a child to then initiate reading independently without the parent support? How did you get Tito to do that?
No, see, the visual skill of reading, the visual stamina. See, I have a booklet over there, how to grow visual skill of reading. See, so you do those exercises over there, and you see that slowly the visual skill of reading. I'll just show you a little play of course, this was a new, now she's way beyond.
So how was he treated? Well, he was treated as
See, so you see that you have just one sentence, and then, of course, and help her to say, so that she can read and answer. See, so here we have that this is more like a reading to communicate program. So which has reading skills where you read to communicate. Art to see. See? So there. So different students have different kind of thing. Now you work with like high anxiety students, say,
Hide me.
see, high anxiety. So for him, in order to, because see, the muscle memory goes so much, the muscle memory becomes so prominent where it goes, and like that. If possible, I would say we'll try and delete these videos that I'm showing, because just to respect the children, because once they did that once doesn't mean that they continue to do it like that. But with high anxiety, there has to be a lot of teachers' intervention, teacher writing to keep the sensory distraction, because in order to stop that motor, muscle memory of just taking the hands and going over there. It's not just anger that children do it. Sometimes with a kind of a muscle memory also, children do that, right? So that kind of a thing. So you can see that different children have different things. And here you see that, as I said, that reading is very useful. I could just say, hey, Tito, why don't you take your history book and read? If I say that he's bored. See? And then you can spend a lot of time doing that. So that's the thing. Now,
Okay, give us space. Okay. What's that? D. Good. Keep going. D.
so different children go into different kind of ways to spell.
I. Good.
Okay? So different students have different ways to spell. They spell and they type. They spell and type like that, and then you slowly remove the letterboards away, and that's how you do that. And then some children type.
Space. Okay, without the use of the letterboard. So suppose I write over here, this animal lives in the sea. It is F-I-S. Continue. What's the next letter? H. Okay.
See, so this is where you are creating a kind of an independent typing, and then the teacher is going to wean out from there, those kinds of things, right? Now, so different children have different kind of needs and sensory needs. So sometimes children want to draw the diagram.
And nuclear fluids. Okay, nuclear substances, that's how we keep it. So, suppose, so we were doing the writing skills. So first you're going to draw a pool of water. This. Lift it up. This, yes. Now,
So here, the teacher, my goal is to teach him to navigate the two-dimensional surface using a diagram. So it's not just sitting and spelling, how boring that would be. You would want the drawing skill, diagram skills, and all those different things, right? You have to spice it up.
I love that.
You sort of saw the different potentials of the RPM through this talk.
Mm-hmm. We still got a couple more questions though. Let me, if you're okay. Somebody said, is it a good idea to incorporate reading if someone is nonverbal? I'm guessing you would say yes.
Oh, yes. As long as, see, the thing is that you can have nonverbal children also read, because this is an exercise of the eyes, where you are going to, we have, see in my booklet, there's a booklet over there. We have, if you go to our thing over there, you can see the step-by-step reading and visual skills.
Okay, I'm going to ask another one real quick. Okay. What kind of material would you suggest to use for a 35-year-old autistic person who has never tried RPM before and will try for the first time?
Well, I would say that selecting a lesson would be important, because you can't select a lesson that elephant has task. You can't select that kind of a lesson. A 35-year-old, what the 35-year-old is used to. So the 35-year-old is used to news. I would begin from there. So I would say, all this news we read, from where this word news comes from. N comes from north, E comes from east, W comes from west, S comes from south. So everything from all those four corners is nothing but news. So I would go from there. There are many ways how to begin, because introduction is important. You suddenly can't, so with the 40, like you don't know what they know and what they do not know, and what the information stamina will be for this this person. Because if this person, whether this person lives at home or whether this person lives with the family, you don't know where they are living. See, so based on that, you start a kind of a session where you are talking like like age appropriate talking, but then you are giving some kind of an information which is very general topic.
Makes perfect sense. Okay, so thank you so much for this session, Soma. My 5-year-old son, for my 5-year-old son, I'm so sorry, would Soma recommend setting up a session for initial consultation or attending the 4-day session right away? He's at a stage where he could make choices using LAMP or objects placed in front of him, but not a letterboard yet.
Now, like they teach the children, usually 5-year-old, they start with the other therapy where they are just labeling things. So now you can start growing around that. So I started with my son, with Tito, who was totally nonverbal. And if I entered the room, he would just walk out. He knew that I'm going to come and follow him with some kind of a thing. So you start growing vocabulary around him. So he's walking. Oh, you are walking. You have 2 legs. A dog has 4 legs. Did you see that? What did I say? It has 4 legs. So you are growing around walking. So grow the vocabulary, because this is a very language oriented. This RPM is very language oriented. So it's not just you do a task. Now look at this. Now I am. So suppose Tito is doing this, like drawing. Okay. So, but then I'm putting language over there. Wait. 1 minute. Where did that go? So where Tito is doing that drawing, I just lost that. But then what is the next color that you're going to use? What is the next color? Because it's not just draw. I'm going to keep quiet. Like that. You have to keep a kind of a language, otherwise the student's head is going to talk to him, and then he's going to say, you know what, I'm done. It's not that he's drawing because he loves it. He's drawing because we are growing a skill over there. That's why. Anyway, I just lost it, but then you see once the skill grows, then you see other things start growing. So you can get these handheld, because see, all these different things grow a hobby. See, so and then you see the vision also starts. Vision also starts like supporting whatever the student is doing through activity. That way. Yes, what if I lost it? Okay, never mind. Yeah. Yeah. See. See, and then you don't need a supervision. See, so in the beginning you need full supervision. After that, the motor skill gets generalized, and then you don't need. So for a 5-year-old, you start that. Oh, now we are going to walk out in the park. We are going to see trees. Now we are going to count the number of trees we see. Now you are on the swing. And see, now the swing goes. How does the swing go? Back and forth. See, all these back and forth, these are all vocabulary words. And then you can orchestrate it with spelling or something like that. Like sky's the limit. You can say when you're outside doing this, you can fold up fold the paper and give two choices. Are you on the swing or are you on the tree? Swing. Okay, so now at home you can do the spelling.
Okay. Okay, I'm trying to keep up with all these that are coming in, so we have some really good ones. Could you go through the process of introducing a new communication partner? Should you start back with choices or just start where they are? I know you mentioned math and closed-ended questions, but do you start with the full letterboard? I know it's a learning process for the person facilitating the board as well.
Well, you have to start with known answer, whoever is new. You have to start with known answer, and this person has to study the and the speed of the student, and also the where to position the letterboard, the students' performance, like you can say, positions, all these different things the person has to know, and then you go from there.
Okay.
Because even the letterboard holder would be just standing stiff, right? So even he would be new. So then you see that slowly the flexibility would happen over there, and then if you want to keep the symbiosis going, you can keep symbiosis going, and then the student is going to need the letterboard holder throughout his life.
That's fantastic. Okay, so this one says, my son is 8 years old. He has picked up language himself. He could tell about the video he's watching, and he could tell about information, but he is able to form a simple conversation like, I am fine, how he is with his feelings. If I ask, how are you, or where did you go, he repeats the same question. How do you teach him to answer?
Storytelling skill. Because see, there you have to start in one of the communication talks, we talked about how to develop a storytelling for someone else and then bring it to the self. So Sam wanted to go to the park, but it rained. So Sam should be what? Happy or disappointed? Like that. So Sam was disappointed. So start with that. What would you do? Like that. So go from there. Because many times people are not comfortable. Like if someone asks me, how are you feeling? I'm not comfortable. I don't even know how I'm feeling. Like that. See, if people ask me, how are you feeling? Like we are put on the spot, right?
Indifferent. Right.
And we just blank out over there. So same happens with different students. Some children are all into feelings, and some children are sort of conservative about our feeling. Why should I tell you? I don't even want to think about it. Right. It all depends upon the personality of the student. Like
Okay.
you see, some people just vomit out the feeling. Even some typical people, they just vomit out the feeling anywhere like that. You just ask, they're waiting to be asked. Open the tap, there it comes. And then some people are reserved.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so somebody just wrote in and said, have you ever found that some kids just don't take to RPM after trying it?
I don't know, it depends upon the system that you are preparing, because sometimes in order to adapt to a system, everyone has their own clock. Some children pick up the system right away, and some children take a little talk, but then they pick it up because you are creating a kind of a network. So the rigidity. So if other systems are there, and if depending upon how high the wall that the other systems have created, then you have to break the wall, but then they all pick it up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Okay, I think this one's kind of been answered because you showed us those amazing videos with Tito, and I just want to apologize to everybody real quick. So when I ask the questions, it shows me, but I'm trying to get myself out of here so we can see the videos clear. So thanks in advance for all the grace, everybody. So I think this one was already answered, how to create a hobby through RPM, but you had showed us the video of, making a useful skill for something that Tito liked doing, correct?
Yes, yes. See, so I won't say like I won't say that a kind of a hobby which a student can do inside. You see, outside there are plenty of things to do. You can walk, you can jump, you can do this, that all the children do well. See, but then when it comes to being inside, after the sun goes down, then comes the drama. Right. So this is where you create the hobbies inside, so that the student starts having alternative things other than doing the same ABC that they have been doing 5 years ago. You have to create a kind of a motor pathway, a visual pathway, because in order to create a hobby, one hobby can require auditory, visual. See, like for example, that hand piano. It requires auditory, visual, and kinesthetic combination over there. So you have to first see what are the things I have to work on in order to get there. Then you create steps, step-by-step processes.
Okay. Okay, how to transition into holding a letterboard by a child or putting it on a table?
It all depends upon the student's preference. Some children want to hold the letterboard themselves. And some children like to sit on the couch and work, and some children like to sit on a chair and table and work. So it all depends upon, and Tito takes his whole computer down on the floor and works. So, because he's not a chair and table person, he said that he doesn't like his legs dangling.
That's funny. Okay, so a friend's son has Angelman. Is RPM a good option for them?
I have Angelman children. I work with, I have some Angelman children who live in Austin who come to my office all the time, because see, Angelman children, they either want to be happy or they'll be stressed. And so it will be either happy or stressed kind of a thing. So here, the sessions have to be a little animated, because we have to keep the student in that happier state. Because if they are not happy, suddenly they feel very uncomfortable.
Okay, that's perfect. That's great to know. Okay, so how does the parent camp work to learn more of how best to work with our kids? So do you work with the parent on how to work with their child?
It all depends upon what the parent wants. Sometimes people come for the camp, then they just observe, and then they take the videos and go. Sometimes they say that, okay, I want to shadow you. It all depends upon what the parents want, because they are paying for my services. And then sometimes when I do the Zoom camp, then I can show them how to hold the letter if they are holding it too high. So children's hands are over there. If the letterboard is over there, then students can't reach there. So depending upon where to position the letterboard, how to go around. So it all depends upon what the parents want from the camp.
Okay, perfect. So here's another one. An autistic child I know has a long day of school and therapy, and his family is hesitant to add another therapy to his week. If he does a few minutes of RPM a week, would he learn the skill? How much time per week needs to be devoted to this?
It doesn't matter. I've seen children who come once a week and they still do it. They learn. You are, as a teacher, you're just creating a kind of a pathway, a kinesthetic pathway. It's not that you'll take more aspirin doesn't mean that your head to get away quickly. See, sometimes one aspirin is enough.
True. In RPM, would navigating the letterboard be a first stage of integrating the senses? Only after that would other skills such as typing and writing be taught?
Yes, first the student has to navigate the two-dimensional surface of the letterboard. Then two-dimensional surface of the letterboard through a kind of a kinesthetic movement of the letterboard, of writing, drawing diagrams and other things. And then it goes to and then typing and other things become very easy. A person who can write can type.
Okay. All right. Would you recommend any activities to increase functionality of the hands in the same time as working on pointing to the letterboard?
Yeah, see, go with my blue book, which is the motor skills, like navigating the environment and other things. And you see, you do the other motor skills also. See, there would be motor skill involves not only the hands. See, the hands are, see, we have the ball and socket joint, hinge joint, ball and socket joint, hinge joint, hinge joint. All these joints have to combine together in order to create a kind of a purposeful movement of the hands. Now, then you see navigating the body. So you see sometimes children are walking, but then they are walking sort of in a different way. There you can teach the kind of a, like, yeah, you can say, okay, this is how we are going to walk. See, slowly. Then so along with that, you start navigating the body also, because you know the center of gravity of the body is also very important. If the center of the gravity of the body is not stable, then children are going to wobble in one place. Right. So the children have to have a kind of a proper center of gravity. A lot of things go on in order for that kind of a purposeful output. So you see a student is wobbling and walking over there, that means the center of gravity is still not fixed. And you see, you work on those skills, you see this will come in place and you don't have to work so hard over here.
Okay, perfect. Would a student with apraxia and few speech skills, unable to mimic phonetic sounds, be able to begin working on independent reading? Right now, I'm trying to have him trace the words that I read.
Yeah, you can do that. Tracing the word is a good motor skill, but then do that forever. Then you have to create more goals around it. See, speech, who is going to talk? You have there are certain people, certain children who are ready for speech. So if you see that the vocal stimming, that minimized, if you see that the children are sort of rhythmic breathing, because when we are talking, we breathe out like that, then you know that that child is ready for speech, and then we can work on it. It's
Okay.
when you first work on it, it's a little hands-on. And then after that, especially with the apraxia, it is because my son had apraxia, it was a little hands-on. And then after that, it can be distance. And then slowly the teacher can move out. And then I can be in another room and I can do an RPM session from far. Then you don't have to stick together with the letterboard like that. Otherwise, like, it's too much of sticking around and doing the letterboard.
Okay. What pointers would you give parents to create a purposeful activity for kids to keep them engaged while they are unable to engage with their child?
See, that's where first you have to, whatever activity you are doing, there has to be a kind of a map. First, you are creating a map. There has to be full engagement in the beginning. So first, 90% engagement along with whatever the student is doing. And because that's why prompting, because without prompting, nothing is going to happen. And slowly the prompt can be faded out and the student picks up over there. And then you don't need so much of engagement, then the student can independently do it without supervision. But when you are beginning it, see, sometimes going through is the way out. You have to go through it. You can't work around it.
That's a tough one for so many of us. Okay, my son often recites rhymes or sentences he recites rhymes or sentences he may have picked up from YouTube videos inappropriately. Is that something RPM can address? If yes, what would you recommend we do? He does recite them when requested, but it depends on his mood.
Yeah, well, you just, when it suddenly happens, you have to create a kind of a micro lesson around that and around any component of that. So suppose twinkle, twinkle, little star. Let's talk about twinkle. Let's find 5 words that rhymes with twinkle, and you can break that pattern. So breaking that pattern and scrambling it is the only goal.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so this one says, when do we introduce reading in RPM? Because my son is spelling some words, but not typing by looking at the words.
See, again, you see that reading, like you have to position depending upon it. Is he looking at the letterboard and spelling, or is his vision global and reading? So depending upon where his vision is, and then you bring the reading material, whatever you bring over there for a short period of time and create a kind of a visual stamina. Then bring more words in and grow the visual stamina.
Okay, perfect.
And as I said, then you go to reading to communicate and other things. Then the children don't have to spell.
Okay.
Because for every little thing, if you have to spell the whole thing, then it would be exhausting. See, that's why I thought that, I have to get Tito to speak, because it's exhausting for spelling each and everything like that. Said it's exhausting for him, it's exhausting for me, and I'm feeling sorry for him. I'm feeling sorry for myself. We have to go beyond it.
Okay. So this one's a good one. Do you have any suggestions in how to help a conversation between?
Now Tito will come back, because it's almost, we only have 3 minutes left.
Okay. This is the, do you want me to give you a few more questions, or do you want to wrap up?
Just we'll wrap it up. Okay, ask me that question.
Okay. All right. Do you have any suggestions in how to help a conversation between people using a letterboard in a way that they're comfortable? I think a communication across the environments, like in
slowly, first the teacher has to stand next to next. After that, the teacher has to start moving away. So slowly the teacher has to hold the letterboard like this. See, that's why we made this transparent board like that. Slowly the teacher has to move away over there, and then slowly, because the face-to-face communication is a natural position. We have to slowly get into the natural position, not just taking side to side. That's not natural. We begin it because of the cross modality of the brain. The Broca and the Wernicke area is there. We begin from standing on the right side, but slowly we start moving away. Right.
Okay, fantastic. So I just want to say real quickly, I know that Unlocking Voices is your biggest Facebook resource, correct?
That's the biggest.
Like almost 7,000 people. I just want to give people some resources. So we will post your website underneath this, the HALO website. We will post a link to the Unlocking Voices
There
group.
are many videos over there. You can check on the blog section. I put some videos over there, and then you can check that out.
Okay, and then on the, I know on the Unlocking Voices, you also have, like, Lene has a workshop coming up in July in Ohio. You have camp in I believe in August, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
So camps got failed, and so we opened the August camps. We have camps every month. So once one month gets filled, then we open the next month.
Okay, and they can get all that information on the HALO website, and most of it's on the Unlocking Voices Facebook page, correct?
I'm just one phone call away, and then they can, and then just one email away.
Okay, perfect. I just want to close with one thing. First of all, thank you so much. I know, again, you were the first person to ever show me that my child was in there. We will post this link will be on our Facebook, so people can watch it if they missed something and wanted to go back for this amazing information that you've given us. But I have to tell you, one of the best things you ever told me, Soma, for my child, you told me to keep my TVs on at all time. You told me when my child was like 8 years old, put him on closed captioning so that he could, like, read them all the time. That was such amazing information. So all these great tips, I just feel like you have just really blessed our community. So thank you so much for your time and perfect timing. It's like 6 on the nose, and I hope you have
inviting me. It was my pleasure. Okay, so now I'll leave the meeting. Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Soma.